when you were about Rolly's age,
Oh, I'm Rolly. He's
oh, sorry,
Yari.
so Yari, sorry, Rolly. So when you were about Yari's age,
Hmm.
I know your dad was a DJ, or he's a DJ still,
Yeah,
and your grandfather was a football player.
yeah.
Okay, and but then around the age of 13, you started rapping.
Hmm.
How was the creative upbringing in in your family? Where was besides your dad, like, were there other people who were also creative, or in athletic wise, or music wise, arts?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Probably the most important influence to me was my uncle. Actually, this guy Brett Miles. He was a jazz musician, and he had a funk band called McGilla Funk Conduit, and he was the first person who kind of brought me on stage with him.
Oh, whoa, that's very cool. How
Yeah,
old were you at that point?
yeah, I would have been literally like 14, 15 years old. So I was underage performing at these clubs with an 8-piece funk band, and I'd have a little index card with the first line of all my verses, so I could remember the whole verse. And at the end, like they give me like cranberry juice and stuff. Like yeah, it was definitely introducing me to the world of entertaining firsthand. You know.
Yeah, because like you're getting used to the motions, you're getting used to the stage, you're
Hmm.
getting used to the expectations, the pressure. But you had cranberry juice with you, so like that was probably made things easier.
Oh, it always does. But I think the creativity aspect of it. I grew up in a library of music. My dad was a DJ. He was he's arguably the person who introduced Edmonton, Alberta, to hip hop music. His radio show was the Black Experience and Sound on CGSR, and he played everything like funk, reggae, even like new wave and just all kinds of music. He'd start off the show with like some Quiet Storm, kind of like Phyllis Hyman was an artist he really liked a lot, and then he'd go into Nas. He'd be playing New York State of Mind because my dad's originally from New York, right? And yeah, that was the vibe. He was just mixing different genres, and I feel like that kind of creativity, that kind of boundary breaking, comes really naturally to me.
Hmm.
I feel like that's just what I grew up around.
That's amazing. And like, did love bring your dad to Edmonton?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
That's
My mom's originally from Edmonton. My grandfather, my grandparents moved to Edmonton so my grandfather could play for the Edmonton Elks at the team.
oh, okay. Oh wow,
Yeah, so that's why my family's from Edmonton.
that's incredible.
But yeah, love brought my dad to Edmonton with my mom, and yeah, my mom is a very artistic leaning person. Like she's a total hippie. She's a very, very witchy woman who she listens to all this crazy R&B music and soul, and she loves her record player. And yeah, I feel like I had two very artistic leaning parents, and I think that really rubbed off on me.
So they both have instilled a sense of listening in you, like really listening to music, deep listening, and understanding what the records are, understanding maybe like the inspirations where the music comes from.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things that I grew up with was the importance of the liner notes. We would just take the records and we'd look at them while we're listening to them and just check out who played on what. And I always loved reading the thank yous to see if there was a name I recognized or something. So yeah, that I grew up listening to like the Funkadelic records, Parliament Funkadelic, and their artwork was always this really psychedelic, freaky stuff. And I always used to just examine it. I'd just be like sitting there at the table, like, wow, this is like the most creative thing ever.
And their work, like it's brilliant because there's so much Afrofuturism in there, and it's like reading an Octavia Butler, book, but like in music form, right?
Yeah.
And when you were listening to these records at that point, like, were you aware of what Afrofuturism was, or is that something that you delved into later on?
Yeah, no, I didn't think I didn't put a name to it. It was just Funkadelic to me. It was their universe. But yeah, that kind of stuff. it became clearer later in my life. Like I didn't really put a name to it back then, but yeah, that was definitely what that was though. That's like Afrofuturism 101. You know, you can still you see that kind of thing today with some of the visual iconography. I actually noticed from the last Travis Scott project, there was some really cool stuff he was doing. But then you can see it in like a Black Panther movie and
Kamasi Washington.
yeah,
Like in a lot of his work.
yeah, Janelle Monáe.
Yeah. And so you were listening to funk records, and then you found yourself performing with your uncle's funk band.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that journey and like how did that transpire?
Yeah. So I taught myself how to rap. You know, just from listening to records, and that includes CDs and albums that my dad would just leave around, and or he didn't want to play on the radio, and he'd give them to me, and then I just kind of created my own musical vocabulary that way. I'm the kind of person that when I get into something, I really get into it, and when it comes to music, rap music, I tried to learn everything I could, and I tried to listen to everything I could, and that led to me the natural thing of wanting to try it yourself. I mean, I think a big part of it was the internet. I was definitely involved with a lot of early kind of message boards where people would rap battle and in text form.
What were the message boards?
Yeah, rapmusic.com was one of them. It's literally like, where's rap? Where do people rap? And rapmusic.com would come up. But yeah, those were kind of the formative years of me just kind of teaching myself learning my own style, like developing my own style. That was just obviously really heavily influenced by some of the underground rap I was listening to at the time. That was a big thing for me in high school. So I started discovering rap that was like different subjects, and they were coming from different places and different perspectives. And being a kid, just growing up in Edmonton, it was cool to hear people who were from other places. Like one of the people who really inspired me was Buck 65. You know, he was just somebody who rapped about things that you would never think to. You know, he brought that kind of Lynchian perspective to rap music, and that was really inspiring for me. A lot of LP, Cannibal Ox, Freestyle Fellowship, Atmosphere, just Aesop Rock for sure, Mr. Liff, like just these kind of underground rappers. That was how I kind of I love the idea of rap being from somewhere else and being about something else than just the typical stuff that I grew up on. And it was really exciting when you would hear Buck 65 rapping about being from like Mount Uniacke, and that made me be like, where is that? And then like I wanted to learn more about it, and I wanted to give that sensation to people listening. I wanted to like make people where I'm from proud. And that's the regionalism in the music that really inspired me. And that ended up being one of the biggest creative things for me, was that it was music that was uniquely from where I was from.
And at that point, you were still in Edmonton.
Yeah. Like I born and raised in Edmonton, grew up there, I lived there till I was in my mid-20s.
What was the scene like in Edmonton, like for a rapper? You released your first album, your singles out. Also, I wanted to talk about your first album, Kayfabe.
Yeah, Breaking Kayfabe. Yeah.
Breaking Kayfabe, and then you also released House Music in the same year as a single, right?
No, the House Music was on my next album, and so the single would have been in 2008.
Okay.
So that one, my first album was 2005.
2005. And I'd love to talk about while you're in Edmonton and you're coming up as a rapper, you're trying to find shows, you're finding shows, you're releasing your album. What was that journey like between 2005 to 2008?
Yeah, it was interesting. It happened quite quickly. I was just in the kind of freestyle battle scene in Edmonton, and I was starting to, once I became old enough to go to the bar, I was starting to meet people from the local rap scene, because initially it was just internet stuff, and that was really how I got discovered, was like a label from Toronto found my stuff just off the internet. But those early years, Edmonton was very DIY. It was very indie rock centric. That was kind of what I more resonated with. A lot of my friends were groups like Shout Out Out Out. They were really close friends of mine in the scene. Divas. There were a lot of really cool bands back then, but specifically Shout Out was influential because Nick Kozub from that group, he recorded Breaking Kayfabe, and it was through my uncle who was working on an album there, and I featured on it a couple tracks, and then I just kind of glommed on and was like, yo, I want to record my album here. And I was just this like weird teenager who was like making this electronic rap music that was just totally off the wall, and Nick was into it, you know?
Yeah, so he admired your work at that point to be like, yes, I want to record this album for him.
Yeah, well, he took it seriously. You know, he knew there was something compelling about it, and he was always a bit of a mentor to me too when I lived in Edmonton. And he actually mastered my last album, so we've like started working together again in different ways. And yeah, he was kind of like one of the first cool people I met. That wasn't like in my family or something. You know, he was a DJ, and like he kind of took me under his wing, and I would DJ with him and stuff. And yeah, we had a crew together. We called it New Strathcona. That was our DJ crew, and I learned a lot from him. Yeah, because he was a bit older than me, and had already had other bands before that. And yeah, no, that was definitely. But the rest of the scene, it was definitely the rap scene didn't really understand what I was doing, and the indie scene didn't really know what to do with me. Like I was trying to get signed by all these like indie rock labels, and they just didn't get it. They didn't understand why a rapper would want to be on their label or whatever, you know. And there was also obviously like a racial component too, where it's like, you know, I was kind of the only black person on the scene, really. Like every rock show I went to, usually it was just me, you know. And there would be this look where people were just kind of like, "What are you doing here? Like, are you lost? Like the rap show's over there, you know."
And I'd love to because like you made a move to go to Montreal at some point.
That's right. Yeah,
like around
2009.
2009. And so like, you know, you're finding new. Okay, so you also DJ'd from a very early time while you were rapping.
Yeah. I was doing a lot at the same. I know it seems weird, but I was doing a lot of. I have never had a problem with like creativity, with like having ideas or wanting to do different things. Like the problem actually is harnessing it all and controlling it and limiting the ideas and be like, okay, what are you going to actually do? Right? And that was something that I've gotten better at as I've gotten older, but it could be challenging when I was younger.
Definitely,
right?
Definitely. And like, how were you navigating that at that point? Because you have all this drive, and you're like, I can DJ, I can rap, I can write, I can produce music. So like, at that point, how did you start focusing? And like, what kept you focused?
Well, I mean, I wasn't that focused at the time, you know, but I feel like I was really determined to make something of myself, and I just spent every waking moment working on different stuff. And the way that it would work for me is I would have certain days that were just music day. Certain days were writing day, like you knew for the week I was going to focus on writing reviews or something. So I just kind of like tried to like organize my time in a way where I could focus on one aspect at a time. But it really felt normal just because it was just where my life was, to just do it all the time. Like it would be a thing where maybe during the week, during the day, I'm working on some music, and then I'd be DJing later that night, and then I would need to write some reviews before my deadline on Friday for like the alt weekly newspaper. And I would just kind of like, I've always liked living that way. Keeps you on your toes, you know, and you never get bored. It's always something different is happening.